Am I the a-hole for telling my niece what her dad did and causing him to be uninvited from her wedding? I, female 34, had a bad history with my brother-in-law for years, and I got contact after he got me kicked out of my university that he worked in by telling a lie and ruining my future. I got a restraining order against him later, but my parents were against it. I still had/have a close relationship with my niece. She and my sister visited alone, and then began seeing her out or at my place. But my family pressured me to not disclose to her the reason of no contact with brother-in-law. So as my niece grew up, she thought we had a normal family dispute and tried to get us to reconcile many times, being encouraged by my sister and parents. But I got my niece to stop when she was 19. Now she's 21 and getting married soon. I got a wedding invite from her, and I felt cornered because there was no way I'd come knowing my brother-in-law will be there. Declining to go would be devastating for her as she always seek my support. So I returned the invitation and made up an excuse so I won't attend. But my niece came to ask why I hate her dad so much that I can't even show up to her wedding. I tried to vaguely explain that her dad wasn't a nice person to me, but she demanded to know exactly what he did, saying unless I put her in the picture, she won't talk to me again. So I ended up telling her, and she left without saying anything. Then my sister called and was crying, saying my niece just uninvited her dad to the wedding because of whatever nonsense I told her about him, and ruined not just the event, but the family relationship. She said it's been years, and I was crazy to even still be remembering what happened. Then she said she won't let me alienate my niece from her dad, which she claimed to be my endgame. My parents were upset too, and said it caused this problem when I had the choice to show up to the wedding and not to deal with my brother-in-law because there will be other family there, thinking I should just go and we'll be fine. I only had Mike on my side. He helped me with the restraining order and keeps saying my niece had to know eventually. But I know this was horrible timing, and because of what I did, my brother-in-law can't attend his own daughter's wedding, now that she's saying she'd call it off if my family keep pressuring her to reinvite him. They're demanding I fix it, but Mike says I'm good. He could just be saying this because he's on my side. Backstory: my brother-in-law wanted the money my grandmother left to go to my niece, but my parents used it for my college education. I went to the college my brother-in-law works in. He's a professor. And he falsely accused me of cheating and advocating/encouraging groups to cheat and had me kicked out. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. Your brother-in-law sounds like a real piece of work. Who thinks it's okay to lie and get someone kicked out of the university? Crazy how a university would expel a person for cheating with absolutely zero evidence whatsoever. You'd be shocked about the crap people get kicked out for with no evidence besides a flimsy excuse. Not a-hole. Welcome to my favorite letter on a family bingo card. E for enabling abusers. Shut up, you. Having a problem with your tormentor is shattering our family illusion. And, well, golly, it's downright inconvenient. Creating drama, I say. What? You didn't actually expect us to back you up against a guy so bad you were granted a restraining order, did you? Your sister is married to him, and it would take backbone to figure that out. Staying quiet until your niece was 21 was already swallowing enough for the children or for the family. She cornered you and made you choose between giving her the truth or suffering yet another injustice at the hands of your tormentor by losing her too. You didn't create crap. He was an awful person, and your sucky family is reaping what they sowed when they decided to sweep his actions under the rug and value the life normalcy over the life and future of their daughter. Screw them. Not a-hole. The backstory blows my mind. It sounds like he punished you for what your parents did. How the hell does he even get a say in what the family does with their inheritance? Oh, he specifically doesn't. It does sound like the money was earmarked for his child, though. And I hope he please correct me if I misunderstood. By virtue of being related to grandma. And I could understand a parent being angry if that money meant for their child being taken by other family. It doesn't excuse his behavior. What he did was reprehensible. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my son deal with rotting meat? I go hunting every year. I'm not a trophy hunter by any means. I do it for meat and almost purely for economic reasons at this point. Taking a few of deer off my property once a year keeps my freezer stocked, and the grocery bill way down, which is important because finances can be tight sometimes. As a little relevant background, the bulk of the meat is kept in a large freezer in the garage, and about once a week we pull out what we will need for the next week or so, which means the freezer is normally only opened about once a week. My son, 15, has decided that he is vegetarian about 6 months ago, which my wife and I have no problems with. We started making meatless meals twice a week and made sure every other dinner was such that the meat was separate from everything else so he could still eat with us. This has been working great for the last 6 months with no complaints. However, last week when I pulled the meat for the week out of our freezer in the garage, he decided to come behind me and unplug the freezer. I guess he thought we weren't doing enough to support his cause? He never even spoke to us or complained about our twice-a-week setup prior to unplugging the freezer. Well, as you can imagine, with a now unrefrigerated pile of meat in the summer heat, it didn't take long for the meat to start to rot and stink. The freezer kept the smell in for a while, so by the time we finally noticed, everything was completely putrid. I asked my son if he knew what happened, and he proudly said that he had unplugged it on purpose, and now we would have to be meat-free. I told him that he didn't have the right to ruin a freezer full of meat and raise the family's grocery bill without discussing it with anyone. I told him that as part of his punishment, he had to clean up his mess, meaning dispose of all of the rotting meat and either sufficiently cleaned and sanitized the freezer or purchase a new one out of his savings. He called me Nahal for making him interact with meat in any form, but he made the mess. He needs to clean it up. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I'm a vegetarian myself, and I'd argue what is done is worse because the deer have now died for no reason. Plus, it's not okay for him to intentionally ruin the family's groceries and waste money. Buying a new freezer might be overkill, but I don't think it's unreasonable at all to clean it. I'm wondering if the smell of the rot can ever truly be removed, and if it can't, if it'll contaminate the new meat. Not the a-hole. Can confirm. A tube of rotten turkey meat somehow ended up in my washing machine and ruined a load of laundry. It took filling the entire thing up with bleach or vinegar several times over the course of a week to tame the smell, and another 2 weeks of daily cleaning with several packages of the machine cleaner tabs to completely eradicate the smell. Chances are, the smell in Opie's freezer saturated the internal insulation. The entire unit would be ruined if that's the case. 1000% not the a-hole. I'm fully vegan. Have been for 4 years. I wouldn't even unplug someone's meat supply because it is against the whole point of being vegetarian or vegan. It forces additional deaths of animals completely unnecessarily. By the way, you hunting a couple deer a year that are on your property, and presumably of decent size and age, is actually quite vegan of you. Best of luck dealing with him. He needs education in not eating meat. This. If someone wants to get his head out of his behind and take stock of what his actions have cost, he will be in for a shock. This should be part of the punishment in my opinion. Get him to work through the implications of what is done. His parents are likely to end up buying at least some meat during the year, and they wouldn't have done if he hadn't destroyed their store. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for threatening to sue my brother and forcing my parents to pay me to drop the lawsuit? My brother is a mechanic and started his own business, so our family decided to switch. My wife's car's brakes are at 20%, so she got them replaced there. But then she got into an accident the next day. She told me she slammed on the brakes, but it took so long for the car to stop and ended up rear-ending the next car. She has soft tissue damage from the accident and still has neck pain. My wife is a very safe driver, doesn't even speed and has never gotten a ticket. So I was suspicious and brought the car back to our original mechanic. He showed us that the new brakes were actually completely worn down, even worse than our original. I brought it up with my brother, and he admitted in person, he refused to give me a confession in writing, that he or his employee screwed up and put in worn-out brakes. I'm furious that he might have killed my wife, and I demanded he at least pay for the increase in my insurance premiums, increase of $67.50 per month. Over 5 years, so about $4,050, and $30 per day over 3 months, $2,700, for Uber rides for my wife, so she gets a break from driving after her accident. My brother refused, as he said he doesn't have the money and refuses to talk to us again. My wife told me to drop the matter so we could keep the peace, but I told her my brother can't get away with this. We start filing the paperwork for a lawsuit with a lawyer. And my parents get told about the lawsuit and rush over to tell me they'll write me out of their will if I sue my brother. I feel like an idiot for trusting him. He's always been a spoiled kid who thought he could get away with anything. So my parents are rushing to defend him shouldn't be a surprise. So I told them I would only drop it if they took the amount out of his half of the inheritance. They paid what I asked, but told me I should be ashamed for betraying my own blood. I told him he should be ashamed for nearly getting my wife killed, though I'm not sure if threatening to sue my sibling was overboard. Now for the top comments. Not today, Hull. Tell them. Fine, you'll drop the civil lawsuit and go to the police to file a criminal complaint. What he did is highly illegal. Yep. Even putting the actual fraud aside, sketchy mechanics like him almost always use hot parts. Wouldn't be shocked in the least if the brother already has criminal ties. His wife could have died. He needs to report him to the police. The brother is a ticking bomb and will get someone truly hurt, or worse, if he keeps practicing as a mechanic. Not today, Hull. In fact, if your wife is experiencing neck pain, I would go ahead and sue. Here's why. I'm an attorney working in motor vehicle accident defense claims. I am not your attorney, and this is not legal advice, just my personal opinion. Car accidents, even minor ones, can seriously mess up your spine for life. If your wife still has neck pain, she may have damaged her cervical spine. It will show up on an MRI. If that's the case, there's nothing that can be done for her besides physical therapy, and, when the damage inevitably gets worse down the line, a cervical spinal fusion. That thing costs money, and your wife is entitled to that money. She is also entitled to money for the emotional distress she has inevitably suffered after experiencing an accident caused by failing brakes. In fact, she's uncomfortable driving now. All of that money is going to come to far more than $8,000. Think quadruple that amount, minimum. Plus, if your wife ever injures her neck/back again in an accident that she's not at fault for, whatever compensation she's entitled to is going to be hella reduced on the basis of pre-existing injuries for her prior accident. Best to get the money she's entitled to now, in case God forbid she needs it further down the line. And your brother won't be paying for it. His insurance company will. Make his premiums go up instead of your own, and let your wife receive the money she's entitled to. And if your parents would rather protect your brother, who could have been responsible for killing your wife, it may well be responsible for killing someone in the future if he doesn't learn his lesson, probably best to seriously reconsider your relationship with them. Wishing you both the best of luck. Not today, Hull. Look, I've worked in an auto shops and have thousands of brake jobs under my belt. And I'll tell you this was no accident. Your brother, or the technician who installed the brake pads, knew they were more worn than the original, and did it anyway. There is absolutely no way that he could not, unless he employs someone else as a mechanic. It's possible that the wrong parts box was pulled by mistake, and instead of having a new set, whoever pulled the part pulled one of the core returns instead. This is really the only way I can figure that brake pads even more worn than the ones you came in with even got involved. But this would have been obvious to your brother, and should never have been put onto your vehicle. Somewhere along the way, he said screw it, possibly due to some time deadline or inability to find the right parts, and put them on anyway. And then he lied to you saying the job was completed. This is seriously messed up. This is negligence and fraud. If your wife had been killed, he could have been charged with negligent manslaughter. If this was deliberate sabotage, then you're possibly looking at attempted homicide. Like I said, this is seriously messed up. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to punish my daughter for not sharing her makeup with her younger sister? I'm a mother of two, Maya 17 and Roxanne 14. Both my daughters love makeup and beauty. When they were younger, I used to get them equal makeup tools. But now Maya has a job and buys her own makeup with different, more expensive, brands. And like Roxanne, Maya is responsible with her makeup and beauty products. She keeps them organized and doesn't lose them easily like Roxanne often does. As a result, Roxanne doesn't have much makeup stuff, and recently this issue occurred. Maya got paid last week and went shopping with her friends and bought makeup products. Roxanne saw the stuff Maya bought since they share a room, and then came to me and her dad complaining that Maya refuses to let her share/use the makeup products she bought. My husband asked Maya if it was true, and Maya said the makeup she bought cost her money and effort at the job, and didn't think it was fair to share with her sisters, and she keeps losing/ruining it all the time, forcing Maya to buy more and cost her more money and work. My husband told her that this wasn't right, and she should share the stuff she buys with her younger sister. Maya still said no, which caused my husband to say he'd punish her for how mean she was being towards her sister Roxanne. Maya still said no, and my husband told her to go upstairs, then turned to me and said Maya needs to be punished for treating her sister cruelly and making her cry. I told him I don't see a valid reason to punish Maya since she did nothing wrong. He was puzzled, chuckled and asked if I really don't see what's wrong with Maya's behavior. I responded that Maya worked hard to earn money and buy her makeup, which she rightfully deserves to keep for herself. He got upset and said I was treating the girls differently and showing heavy favoritism towards Maya. After I said I won't punish her for not sharing, I stated that it wasn't Maya's fault her sister keeps losing the makeup products, but I said Maya needs to learn to share with her sister since they both have the same interest in makeup. And by not punishing her, I'd be encouraging her to become selfish, but I don't see it. He called me negative and short-sighted for not understanding what he was talking about, and accused me of being more friend to Maya than a mom, which what I should be. The argument got worse, and my husband says it's my fault if Roxanne starts resenting her sister. Not today, Hole. Good for you. Let your husband start paying for the same makeup for the younger kiddo, and see how quickly he changes his mind that they should be equal. Perfect response. Not today, Hole. Seriously this. Tell your husband to share his money to your youngest so she can buy her own makeup. Not today, Hole at all. If you force Maya, she will end up resenting you and her sister. Maya's not the problem. She is responsible, works, saves up. By all accounts, she is doing everything right. Forcing her to share spoiling the younger sister. She's the one showing bad behavior, no respect for property, and entitlement towards other people's property and jealousy. And you just do not reward bad behavior. Also, sharing makeup is not sanitary. It is a good way to spread eye infections and cold sores. Thank you. It's totally unsanitary to share makeup. Not today, Hall. It's unsanitary to share makeup, so she did the right thing saying no anyway. That's just what I was thinking. No one should share makeup.